So in honor of Warcraft Direct and everything that's coming, you know, it's all about nostalgia. It's all about getting rock hard for the previous years of World of Warcraft. You know, you've been playing this game, I've been playing this game since 2005. It's been a good time. I wanted to watch something that would also take us on a nostalgia trip, so here we go. Why World of Warcraft isn't dead yet. That's right, despite what all the YouTube comments say on every single video, that anybody that does anything for World of Warcraft posts, this game is not in fact dead. Let's see why World of Warcraft refuses to die.
I'm gonna be honest. Retail WoW is dead.
Yeah, the World of Warcraft is dead.
World of Warcraft is dead.
WoW is dead.
No one plays World of Warcraft.
Stop holding on to it.
WoW is just actively getting worse.
World of Warcraft is one of the longest lasting and most popular games in the world that people couldn't get enough of.
World of Warcraft, I need to play!
Yet since it released, it's been
It's still one of the best episodes of South Park ever, man. I freaking love that thing.
predicted to fail year after year after year.
Make WoW great again.
But how can a game that got 10 expansions in 20 years, over 12 million people's credit cards to play every single month, and the world's biggest Hollywood stars completely addicted, be dying?
On the topic of your World of Warcraft obsession, at what point did you realize that you were in too deep and needed to quit cold turkey?
When my agent would sign on to talk to me.
According to the sale,
Oh my god, that's Mila Kunis, if you don't know who that is. Freaking sexy. She plays WoW nonstop. Her agent would sign on to WoW to talk to her. That's freaking hilarious.
World of Warcraft was far from
whispering
dead.
her in
So I
Orgrimmar.
wanted to learn how it was somehow able to survive decades while newer quadruple A games could barely make it
Oh
a
my
week.
god.
I mean,
Skull and
this
Bones.
one didn't even make it a day.
The crew is gathering. Would you like to join us for game night?
But to find Blizzard's real
Concord, what a shit show. Oh my god, modern day games.
secret, we'd have to go back to the beginning.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is before even me.
Actually, that's probably a little too far back, isn't it?
Yes.
1 second.
There we go. But obviously this isn't World of Warcraft, and that's because to truly understand WoW, we need to talk about EverQuest, a massively multiplayer online fantasy game that Blizzard employees could...
Anybody? I never played EverQuest. I think I was a bit too young. What do you say, 19? I was 9 years old when this shit was happening, so I was not about to play no MMO. Also, I don't think my family even had a computer until like 2000. We got a Gateway PC, you know, the cow logo on it and shit. My dad brought that home. Remember, the only thing I was playing on that thing was like addictinggames.com, maybe some Sims, some, Age of Mythology, shit like that. Age of Empires, Red Alert. That's the shit I was playing. Oh, Roller Coaster Tycoon too, of course. It's worse than Final Fantasy. My friend and I never played EverQuest. I mean, it was punishing. EverQuest was hardcore compared to what WoW was. WoW really brought, MMOs to the casual scene. That's why it was so popular.
get enough of. See, for most of us in the 90s, multiplayer
Oh my
meant
God,
split screen
GoldenEye.
on GoldenEye, no odd jobs allowed.
But
No odd
EverQuest
jobs.
didn't feel like multiplayer. It felt like a home.
Which gives the guys at Blizzard an idea.
Look
You
at
see,
that
they were
hair.
such huge fans of EverQuest that they could see all the problems the game had. For example, if a player died, they'd have to walk all the way back to their body without any of their gear to protect them. Or, if they were killed by another player, that player could take one of their hard-earned items to keep forever.
Damn.
And regardless of how the player died, their experience would drop for every death. Meaning if you put yourself in a tricky
Imagine you work to like get Fearlath the axe and then somebody kills you and just takes it off your body. I would fucking delete my character. That would be freaking punishing. Holy crap.
situation,
You could lose hours, if not days, of experience.
so while developing Warcraft 3, Blizzard decides it's time they craft their own MMO. It'd be a new world filled with wars that they could call their own.
Sure, some folks called it strategic inspiration, but most folks called it...
There it is.
Now at this
Best game
point,
ever.
Blizzard's just released 3 of the world's greatest games within half the time
Man.
Grand Theft Auto 6 has
Look
been
at this. Half the time of Grand Theft Auto. Look at this shit.
the world's greatest
Look at this. StarCraft, Diablo 2, Warcraft Frozen. I mean, these guys were just one after another. Blockbuster hit after blockbuster hit. Mind you, their studio was probably like 1/5 of the size that it currently is today. We're talking about like a tiny little dick dev team. And they were doing this. They were just rocking out with their cocks out, dropping hit after hit. They couldn't miss. And then they dropped World of Warcraft in 2004.
games
Unbelievable.
within half the time Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development.
Look, I don't know what was in the water at Blizzard, but it was clearly working.
Because when you saw a game with this
Probably Titan influenced piss. Probably.
Warcraft's logo on it, it basically guaranteed you were getting a Ratatouille moment.
And World of Warcraft was no different because everyone was playing it.
Hell yeah.
We're fans. I am an orc shaman, and Tom is an orc warrior.
You see, Blizzard's really good at one thing most game developers seem to ignore. Where everyone else seeks to over-design new concepts or ideas, Blizzard does the exact opposite, seeking to simplify what already works.
Really opening up what had been a relatively niche genre to the broader audience of gamers from all walks of life.
That's huge. That's really important because that is really what World of Warcraft was. They even tried to do that with what's it called, Heroes of the Storm, tried to open up that to more casuals. Unfortunately, they were just behind the 8 ball on Heroes of the Storm and that whole genre of game. You know, they're just too late to the front with that one. But in general, that's what Blizzard used to do. They were almost like the noobs version of games, right? They were for the casual gamer, basically. Now, yes, you could always go hardcore. You could always min-max everything and just be a complete degenerate. But for the most part, the doorway, the ease of entry was always the easiest with Blizzard games. It brought people to new genres, RTSs. It brought people to MMOs. World of Warcraft was the first MMO for a lot of people. For me, it was. And that was because it was the easiest to get into. And that's one problem with today's version of WoW is that ease has gone away with the overcomplicatedness and the over-systemification and everything else that's going on in the game. They're trying to dumb it down again a little bit. And I think they've done much better recently. But yeah, it's just happened over time. We want a 10-year-old Sam picture. I was 15 when I started playing WoW.
Example, in World of Warcraft, players were split into 2 morally gray factions of Alliance or Horde, with each faction getting their own playable races, building on the tribal nature humans already have. You see, for the Alliance, you could play as Night Elves, Gnomes, Dwarves, or humans. Whereas the Horde had cows that turned to cats, religious hulks, Jamaican avatar people with tusks,
and what I could only describe as people who comment skill issue.
So true. So true, man. This screen reminds me of the old days. The first time I ever saw WoW was at my dad's friend's house. This guy, now that I know, now that I'm older, degenerate for sure. I mean, he worked at Circuit City. He was my dad's friend. He was married. And my parents were at his house visiting, right? And me and my siblings, were getting a little bit, I'm antsy and shit like this. This is 2004. And my dad's friend gets up. He goes, "Hey, you guys want to see this game? I just got it on my computer. You guys can check it out, make a character, and play a little bit to distract yourselves while the parents sit together." I said, "Oh, sure." He fires up World of Warcraft. I'm like, "What is this?" He goes, "It's an online game. There's all real people in the world. Everyone in the world is real." And I had never understood that concept before in my life. I went onto this screen, and he goes, "You can pick a character, whatever you want to make." So I made a Night Elf Hunter because that's what he had. He had gotten on his Night Elf's, he got on his Night Saber and showed me how he runs around and shit. And I was like, oh my god, I want to be that. So I made a Night Elf Hunter, also inspired by Legolas from Lord of the Rings. And my brother, in that same sitting, made a Tauren warrior. And we started playing. And from then on, I asked my dad every day, can we get World of Warcraft? Can I get World of Warcraft? He wasn't about that $15 a month, so I had to convince him for quite a while. But eventually, I did. And me and my brother together played on a single account for 2 years, logging off in rotation. He would play while I sat behind him and watched him play on the Horde. And then we would rotate. I would play while he sat and watched me play on the Alliance. So we were both seeing new shit because I was playing on one side, he was playing on the other. And that's how we played WoW for the longest time. It was a good time.
You know who you are.
But they go further by fixing every problem they found in EverQuest so that their game would be as accessible as possible for anyone to play.
You can't go to the bathroom, you're stacking Sunder armor.
Iconic Warcraft characters would be interacted with to gain quests that subtly progressed players through new locations. Dying was no longer a scary nightmare of penalties because you could be returned to your body as an invincible ghost. And mounts were provided to make going from place to place the greatest thing ever. But that wasn't all, because WoW built in social features from the start, so raiding a dungeon or making friends was as easy as possible.
Hey! Funny thing is, I actually learned how to type in WoW. I was not a good typer at all. I learned how to type by playing WoW because, it was very social. You had to interact with people, /2 to trade chat, right, to join a group and shit like that. Like, back then, you really did have to interact with the community. You could not just fucking solo your way around and get the best gear. You could not do that. You had to interact with people. So typing, I actually learned how to type by playing World of Warcraft. That was how I learned how to type without looking at a keyboard.
However, with all that success came a few problems.
A lot of those first months were spent really just trying to keep up with demand, just trying to stabilize the service to get to a point where players could just come home from work, log in, and not have to wait or not have their servers be down due to load.
Because unlike their previous games, World of Warcraft was a 24/7, always online world millions of people were paying to work every single month, including really powerful people like Superman.
You were home, but you were playing World of Warcraft, and the phone rings, and you're like, I'll get that later?
Yeah, unless you had a few
When is he going to be the Lich King? Can we start, like, have we started, like, a damn, what's it called, petition or something? He needs to act as Arthas Menethil. He was born to act as the role. This needs to happen. When it does happen, make it a Netflix series, whatever you want to do. Arthas, the story, oh my god. What a hit, man. This would be so damn good. I fucking wish. By the way, the point system is working. I can confirm. Everyone who's been watching for an hour did get a point towards the giveaway that they can use as of an hour.
Yeah, unless you had a few kryptonite bullets hanging around, downtime was not an option.
Now, for context, this game took 8 years, 169 people, and like we said earlier, barely made it a day with the backing of a billion.
We have a realm to destroy.
Hegatopia, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Look at this. 2 players right now.
$1 billion Sinister Six obsessed company.
What?
So to keep up with new content, maintenance, customer support, and bug fixing, the WoW team had to be massive.
But no,
they were small.
Because somehow they made the entire game with 40 people.
That's insane.
40.
That is absolutely insane. Either people were just different animals back then, or these were just 40 of the most talented people ever assembled. Because today's AAA games require about 100 times, I would say 10 times that. You need like 400 people to freaking make a AAA game these days. If you're talking about everybody from the marketing team to HR to all this other shit, it's crazy. Didn't they sleep in? They did sleep in the office. Yes, they did. Yeah, 40 people to make a massive game. By the way, World of Warcraft, you got to remember too, they innovated a lot. It was a game without loading screens. You could go, the fact that you could go from zone to zone in World of Warcraft, it was an open, always on, constantly loaded up world, was absolute insanity back then. Because before WoW, a lot of times when you went from zone to zone in any other type of MMO, it was a loading screen. This was a no loading screen game. That was insane. They had freaking 40 people create this shit. Crazy.
Naturally, Blizzard employees were feeling a little pressure. Sure, a massive world with accessible gameplay players could socialize in was part of the reason for World of Warcraft's longevity, but keeping the game up and running for millions of people to play any second of the day?
Yeah, that seemed like something they needed to solve.
Wow, there it is. 17-year-old Sam entering the Wrathgate. Oh man, entering the portal. Oh my god. The Wrathgate was something else, but this is exciting. This was a good time, and this was when me and my brother finally convinced my parents to get us 2 separate WoW accounts. Until now, we were playing on one account. Now, I'm not outing myself because we were not fucking boxing or something. We were just 2 people playing on one account, 2 little kids. 2007, I finally made a separate account, and the way I convinced my dad to allow us to do it is by lying to him. That's right, and my brother's account was on his credit card, and then I opened a second account on my mom's credit card, and I didn't tell him. And he didn't really catch on for a couple years, and by the time he did, I was like, oh yeah, we got 2 accounts, Dad. We can't both play in the same, and then he just fucking let it go. But yeah, sometimes you gotta do and then ask for permission later, and that's what I had to do. Why? Because I was becoming my true form, my true filthy degenerate form that I just wanted to play WoW all the time. And I have a crazy story about Burning Crusade, once he gets into this a little bit. About how degenerate I truly became.
After 3 exhausting years, Blizzard hired a ton of new devs, fixed a ton of problems, and now morale's a lot higher. Sort of. But with this expansion, Blizzard's feeling confident that they know exactly why players loved World of Warcraft. Because with the Burning Crusade, they add 2 new playable races right out the gate. High fantasy blood elves for the Horde and what look like space goats for the Alliance. The game gets the level cap bumped from 60 to 70, and flying mounts are added for the very first time.
By the way, the level cap going from 60 to 70 was a different animal than it is today. Like today, people will like grind, you know, they'll hit fucking cap level in like a day or two now, and when an expansion go live. 60 to 70 took a long ass time. That was multiple hours of gameplay, multiple days, multiple weeks to hit cap level. It was insane how long it took. And for me, I've got my own account now. I fucking went balls to the wall. My parents did not see me for days. They were my mom was getting very angry with me. She thought it was creating a problem. And yes, it was a problem. Because in fact, what I did was once I got to level, I would say 68, I decided I am not getting up off this fucking chair until I hit cap level. And all I did was eat applesauce and play the game. I got to a point where I kid you not, I got thirsty in real life. And I opened my bag and drank water in the game. And it fucked me up for a second. I was like, holy shit, maybe I'm playing too much. Maybe there's a problem here. And then I just went and got real water, drank it, and then continued playing, of course. I didn't stop. So I kept going, yes, applesauce. And I didn't even get up to throw away the applesauce, okay? I literally would eat the pack, by the way, drinking it, because there's no time for a fucking spoon. You got to one-hand that shit. So I would open up the applesauce, the Mott's applesauce, drink it while I'm playing, and then put it. You could imagine, these cups started to stack up all around me. I had cups of applesauce everywhere. And I was just fucking playing nonstop. Finally, I hit level 80, and I still remember it till this day. Ran down to the basement to tell my mom, because she was chilling and watching TV in the basement with my siblings. We had a walkout basement, nice basement. You could live in that thing if you wanted to. Went downstairs, and I was like, Mom, I did it. I hit level 80. I'm finally level 80. I can finally, it's great. All that shit was worth it. And she goes, great. Now you can actually sit with us. Sorry, 70. She goes, now you can actually sit with us. And I go, what do you mean? Now I can finally start playing the game. This was all just prerequisite. Now I got to actually do this shit. Now I got to raid and do all the other. She was like, oh my God, just take a break. I told her, take a break when it's time. I ran back upstairs. She told my dad at night she thought I had a problem. My dad came and had a talk with me. I told him, Dad, don't worry about it. I'm just playing the game right now. It'll calm down later on. And eventually it did. But damn it, I went full degenerate in this expansion, and it was fun as hell. I'll never forget it.
We had to figure out how to let characters fly.
Except what's most interesting is Blizzard does something new that pushes the game to the next level. You see, Warcraft 3 was beloved by everyone who played it, specifically because of its story and amazing characters. So in this expansion, they bring back one of those amazing characters, Illidan frickin' Stormrage. I mean, just look at that guy.
What's up,
He looks
Edson?
frickin' goose-tastic. But that's not all, because they also make getting to the expansion's new zone a historic event.
Yeah, buddy. Look at everybody at the
This
Raft
was
game.
back when World of Warcraft was a full-time job.
At the fucking portal. Look at everybody there. Oh my God. Talk about degeneracy. All these people had taken off of work. Everybody, man, look at that, playing on those screens too. This was insanity. This is what it's all about.
You see, this was back when World of Warcraft was a full-time job. So the day that the expansion hits, players from all over the world collectively take a sick day to gather around this portal, the Dark Portal.
What are your symptoms?
I have the chills, I'm feeling nauseous, and my head's killing.
And the beauty of the Dark Portal was the second that the expansion released, it'd be open for everyone to experience at the same time. It didn't matter if you were a Blood Elf or a Space Goat. Everyone was going to Outland to stop Illidan and the Burning Legion. Quite frankly, when the Burning Legion hit store shelves, everyone's 9-to-5 job went through the same existential crisis.
I'm in danger!
Because it sells
2.4 million copies. Man, that's insanity. So, like, my parents, after my complete, after they realized I was becoming addicted to this game, they created a rule in the house that, okay, Burning Crusade is going live. I was very excited for it. They said, Sam, you can't play unless it's a day off, right? You got to focus on school during the week, but on the weekends you can play. Fucked me, right? Completely fucked me. I was so annoyed with that shit, but whatever. I was a good kid. I listened to my parents. Burning Crusade comes out on January 16th. What is January? January 16th was what day of the week? January 16th, 2007? 2007. Okay, let me see if it tells me what day of the... January 16th, 2000 was a Tuesday. Okay, January 16th, 2007 was a Tuesday. Wednesday, Okay, the servers, everyone's up there that night. You're playing. It's gonna release on midnight. That kind of shit. You had to go buy the game, install it, all that stuff. That Friday, okay, January 19th. I'll never forget it. Okay, January 16th, my parents actually let me play because I told them it's a new expansion. Please, and I know I have school tomorrow, but please let me play. They said, okay, you can play up until whatever. It was like 11 o'clock. Then you should go to bed. I told them, okay. I played. Me and my friends. It was great. That what's it called? That whole week, I convinced them, okay, let me play a little bit every day. It's just the expansion week, and then I'll follow the rules more consistently. They said, okay. That night, Friday night, a fucking massive blizzard hits Michigan. Unbelievable. Crazy blizzard hits Michigan like I've never seen before in January. It does snow here a lot in January, but this one was crazy. So crazy, in fact, that for the first time in my life and in my friend's life, we were all playing, okay, that night. They called school prior to the morning before, right? This is the age before the internet and cell phone texts that school's out and shit like that. This was when you used to have to wake up and watch the morning news to see if your school showed up on the bottom of the screen as a school that was closed for the day. That was how you used to find out. This was the first time ever that our school got called off before the morning of. It was crazy. Yeah, your parents invoked the blizzard for you. Yeah, that's what it was. So me and my friends were playing, and I was like, all right, guys, 11 o'clock. We probably got to go. I got to log off. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll all log off. We're going to level together. We won't get ahead of you. I was like, great, thanks, guys. We log off. I see the fucking news, and they start showing schools. And I'm like, oh, shit, they're closing schools already? I call my friends via my home phone, of course. You know, they got cell phones and shit yet. We're calling, we're talking. We're like, dude, they canceled school. We logged back in and played until 4 in the fucking morning because that was it. Our week was done. That was a Friday snow day, which is the best because it leads right into the weekend. We played until freaking 4 in the morning playing WoW. Fell asleep at my keyboard. One of the best nights of my life. I've had 4 kids. I've gotten married. That day, it's in close competition. I'm not going to lie.
4 million copies in the first day and hits a new milestone of 10 million actively paying subscribers. Look, I'm no mathematician, but that seems like a lot of what Mr. Krabs would call money. Somehow Blizzard topped the original World of Warcraft in what looked like every way possible.
There was more to do, more to earn, more to seek, more to explore.
From the outside looking in, it looked like World of Warcraft would be safe so long as it focused on expanding the world with great characters players could rally towards. But if that's really all it took, then the real question was, could they do it again?
Hell yeah, they could. Hell fucking yeah, they could. Fucking Wrath of the Lich King, the best expansion of them all. Oh my god. This freaking cinematic is still the best cinematic they've ever released. And I remember showing my dad. Okay, my dad, he understood WoW. He knew that I loved the game. He knew that his son is a fucking degenerate who plays this game any chance he gets. So he started to get into it a little bit. He wanted to show some interest. He's like, hey, show me what this game's about. I remember showing him this cinematic. I go, Dad, they're releasing a new boss, like a new expansion. It's going to be a whole new world, and this is the guy that we're going to fight. And I showed him the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic, and I kid you not, he was like, oh, damn. He was like, this should be a movie. This is really cool. This guy looks really cool. And I was like, yeah, he is cool, Dad. We're going to freaking kill him. You're going to kill that guy? I'm like, yeah, it's going to take me a while, Dad. I'm going to have to get really strong and powerful, get all the best gear, but I'm going to kill him. And he thought it was like the coolest thing. He thought the music was amazing. The cinematic was amazing. He asked me, does the game look like this? I told him, no, shit, that thing's going to render on our computer. But this is what the cinematic looks like. And he thought it was great.
Yes. Okay, 1000% yes. Like, it's not even a question.
Releasing a year after the Burning Crusade, Blizzard triples down on everything that worked before. First, Blizzard drops a CG trailer that's quite frankly a better movie than what most streaming services put out today. Like, it's been over a decade since this thing dropped and I still go back to rewatch it.
Yeah,
next, they go back to Warcraft 3 one more time to make Arthas the expansion's next villain, who, just to be clear, is Warcraft's most popular character by far.
Probably the greatest, most notorious villain ever introduced in Warcraft.
And that's because
that's why Shadowlands is such a shit show, because they completely, edge fucked the lore out of the Lich King. It was complete garbage, and that's, I think, one of the things that triggers people the most about Shadowlands is how they tried to connect Zolval to the Lich King. Complete garbage. I just choose to pretend like that never happened.
In Warcraft 3,
it out of my
you got
mind.
to play as Arthas and watch him slowly transform from a humble prince reigning in chaos.
Can the formalities, Uther.
I'm not king yet.
To the Lich King reclaiming his frozen throne. Like, seriously, the story of Arthas is pretty much Breaking Bad, but in the Warcraft universe.
Basically.
Goddamn right.
Wrath of the Lich King wasn't just another expansion, it was Blizzard proving they knew exactly why players love World of Warcraft. But don't just take my word for it.
Wrath of the Lich King
is probably my favorite expansion.
Like, straight up, without a question.
Is the best
The classes are way better.
version
Just infinitely more fun for me
It's
to play.
very good.
of the expansion that
It's
ever
my
came
favorite
out.
too.
Yeah, Wrath was an awesome time.
And I mean, who could blame them? There was just so much love in this expansion.
It was an honor to be able to come work on the team to help shape the game.
He should have just stopped the sentence right there. It was an honor to be able to come. I mean, that was basically what happened every time you pressed Enter World in Wrath of the Lich King. It was just golden. Loved it. Every raid was good. The gear was good. The story was good. The first in-game cinematics, the Wrathgate. Oh my God, how good. Yeah, it was an honor to be able to come. That's what he should have just stopped talking right there, because that's the truth about Wrath of the Lich King.
That I'd loved for so long.
Because they add this new Death Knight hero class any faction can play as, a more customizable dual specialization skill tree to help players build their character exactly as they wanted.
It started as, how do I save action bars? And it turned into what it is now.
And build new
So
phasing
good.
techniques.
Also, they added the best class ever to be added to the game, the Death Knight, of course. There's no comparison.
So everyone could immerse themselves seamlessly in live cinematic quests.
This revolutionized the way people played the game, and it's remains a linchpin of the game for the past 10 years.
And all of this combined made Blizzard's biggest expansion ever, selling 2.8 million copies in just 24 hours and driving WoW
24
subscriptions
hours.
to an all-time peak of 12 million people.
People are picking up their purchases so they can race home and plug in the game. Chances are this is the last time you're going to see them for quite a while.
Like, for context, that's more than the entire population of Sweden,
True.
okay? Which clearly implies that Blizzard's got a lot more money. But Blizzard creates a new problem that even technology couldn't solve. You see, Arthas wasn't just any other villain, because his story started all the way back in Warcraft 3 and was foreshadowed through much of World of Warcraft. He'd always been there, sitting on his throne with what is probably the coolest sword known to man.
Hell yeah.
But after beating Arthas, his story and a huge part of what made Warcraft so special was gone. If World
It's true, and I mean that's why I've said before, like if they ever create an animated series or whatever series, like a World of Warcraft series, it should be centered around the Arthas Menethil story, because it's such a good story. It's a story that even people outside of the Warcraft universe, outside of just games in general, would be able to, understand and feel for, right? It's the fall of a prince, trying to do the right thing, went too far, fell into evil. Like the story, it's literally, I mean, it's Anakin Skywalker essentially, but it's such a good story that I feel like anybody who doesn't understand WoW would also love the story and be very much into it. That's why they got to tell the story through some kind of series or something on episodic series on TV. It'd be great. Other than that, yes, the problem they had after Arthas Menethil was, okay, this is the end of the Warcraft story, really. Everything beyond this now, they got to just kind of write it off the cuff, and that's where I think some problems came up. Where like, okay, our writing is maybe not as good as we thought it was, right?
Warcraft was going to carry on, Blizzard would need to fill the giant void Arthas left behind. But I mean, what do you do after 6 years of setup for the Lich King? I mean, are you going to send some giant dragon with anger issues out of nowhere to completely destroy the entire planet?
Yeah.
That'd just be stupid.
Oh, yeah. This is funny, because what Cataclysm reminds me of is 2010. I'm 20 years old. I've entered college at this point, right? I'm out of high school. I'm now in college. And I start thinking, okay, I got to take school more seriously. I got to be careful with how much WoW I'm playing. Maybe I shouldn't play this expansion, right? That's what I was thinking. They lasted about a week. I went out and bought Cataclysm. About a week later, and I just continued playing the game. In fact, I used to take a study room at the University of Michigan. Me and my buddies, we all had gaming laptops at the time. And I convinced my parents that I needed a gaming laptop to run Word and PowerPoint correctly for school. But anyways, we'd take a study room. We would just play Cataclysm. It was a problem, but it was a good problem. And then every Friday, I would tell my parents I had class in the afternoon, when in fact I only had one morning class, and I would just stay, me and my buddies, in a study room. We would play for like 6-7 hours straight. Yeah, it's a life full of lies. Yeah, I'm realizing now that I'm telling these stories, World of Warcraft has caused me to lie to my parents a lot in life. Pretty crazy. Although they know I stream now, so that's not a lie. I'm telling the truth. I'm a man of many truths now. Back then, not so much. It was an addiction. I had to feed it.
Well, okay then. Apparently that's exactly what they do. However, during development of World of Warcraft's third expansion, Blizzard gets acquired by one Activision CEO, Bobby Kotick.
Our responsibility is to bring joy and fun to people around the world.
Fucking Bobby Kotick. Are you guys going to seriously tell me that, what's it called? Where's this? You guys going to really tell me that some fucking dev did not purposely create Gallywix to look like him? He looks like Gallywix. He's a little... Gallywix is a caricature of him. And it's freaking hilarious that I don't think he ever caught on to this, but Bobby Kotick is Gallywix, and he's a fucking greedy piece of shit who really drove the game into the ground. Yeah, so, yeah, that's Bobby for you.
Responsibility is to bring joy and fun to people around the world.
Now, for the next 20 seconds, I have no choice but to speedrun you through the corporate nightmare that is Activision Blizzard. So bear with me because I promise you this is important to World of Warcraft's future. Alright, so in 1991, Blizzard becomes a real company through the power of friendship. Then in 95, a company whose only talent seems to be buying other companies buys Blizzard. But when we hit the 2000s, Bobby's company, Activision, starts making gazillions by spamming the ever-loving bejesus out of
I
their
had that
franchises.
Spider-Man game.
We're talking your Spider-Man, your Guitar Heroes, your Happy Meal toys, and of course, your Call of Duties.
You want the gloves off? They're off.
Except if you look closely, you'll notice that none of those franchises have an MMO that specializes in what Bobby wants most.
Money.
Now this makes Bobby mad.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
Trinity Wolf, thank you for the sub on YouTube. Welcome to our scourge. Yeah, money. That's exactly what he was after when he purchased Blizzard. He wanted the money. He wanted the WoW. He saw it as a beautiful darling. And I will say something about Bobby. He's a piece of shit. But when he bought Activision, if you look back at the history of it, that company was on the verge of bankruptcy. And somehow, through his greedy assness, he brought it back to fruition, right? With Call of Duty, all these big hits, these gaming hits. So he had proven himself to be a good manager, at least for stock purposes. So when he came around to buy Activision Blizzard, or to buy Blizzard, I bet that the guys who were selling Blizzard didn't think that they were going to lose as much as they lost when he came around. They probably thought they were going to continue on being the great company that they were, and slowly realized that, no, actually Bobby is going to bend us over and finger pop us to death right now. And that's what happened.
So in 2008, he merges with the Talentless Company to get all of their companies and renames the new company to Activision Blizzard.
And now you're nice yet? You should.
No, I did not. Is it a good one? I have not.
Probably wondering what the big deal is. Well, as of 2008, nothing. I'll be honest, nothing really happens. But as of 2010, World of Warcraft's next expansion starts to move the game in a different direction. Now, on the positive side, having Deathwing, the giant murder dragon, blow up Azeroth turned out to be a really good in-world excuse to modernize a few zones and completely refresh others. In doing so, it creates a more welcoming environment for new players to join in and not feel lost from 6 years of content. Also, they give the Horde goblins to play as, and then they give the Alliance frickin' werewolves. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of...
This is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end. This is when furries finally got their fetish in the game. I don't have anything against furries, personally. I've said this before, furries can do whatever they want. But why does your sexual fetish have to be in my MMO? I don't get it. People who like feet, they don't got to have feet people in the MMO. You know, it just is what it is. And then it went a step further. Okay, at least these guys you can say okay, but they're also human. They're werewolves. It's fine. It's cool. There's some badassness to them. I agree with that. But then the Volpera came after, and I was like, okay, now it's just blatantly obvious. We're just trying to get sexual fetishes into our game now. That's it.
Kind of in.
At that point,
we doesn't like werewolves, right? But Blizzard's goal to make the game more friendly for newcomers came with a few unexpected problems. They streamlined raid matchmaking, allowing anyone to just press a button to find a group, which sounds great on paper, but in practice caused newer players unknowingly disrupting what were already impossible raids.
Let's do this.
The classic.
And sure, they wiped the narrative slate clean with Deathwing's angry fire, but that just caused the connection to the story to feel like it came out of nowhere. And surprisingly, the problem with the biggest repercussions came from the in-game mounts.
StarCraft II Wings of Liberty made less money than the first Sparkle Pony horse.
Oh no, the Celestial
in World
Steed.
Of Warcraft. A $15 microtransaction horse made more money than StarCraft II.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, this left a lot of fans with...
Okay, I'm gonna come clean. I'm gonna come clean, guys. I did buy the Celestial Steed. It's not something I'm proud of. I used my mom's credit card to get it. I did buy it, and I'm ashamed of myself. I really am. I contributed to the downfall of the game. It's my fault, yeah. I still have it. In fact, I do have the Celestial Steed from the purchase back then. And I bought it because I felt like I didn't have any cool mounts, and I wanted a cool mount, and it was a cool mount, and I didn't think it would do anything, you know. I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm ashamed of myself. It's one of my least proud moments.
With foresight for the future, feeling salty.
Fucking best mount in the game. I don't even care. I don't even care. This makes me mad.
See, previously you'd buy World of Warcraft and the expansion, pay a monthly sub, and away you went.
Excited. Very excited.
Did you ever use it? Of course I did.
An unintuitive strategy financially incentivized Blizzard to make great content, because if they didn't, then no one would buy the expansion, which of course...
By the way, those Cataclysm posters, freaking badass. I don't still have it. I don't think I do, but I did get it. I remember I got that one and Miss Pandaria. My local Best Buy, where I used to go buy a lot of this shit, they used to set up for World of Warcraft expansion releases, and they would have a table in the front with all the boxes and posters, and you could go buy the game and get the poster. So that's what I did. The first game that I ever didn't buy in person was WoD. That says a lot. We'll leave it there.
If they didn't, then no one would buy the expansion, which of course would put them in a lot of trouble. Except with this new microtransaction-based strategy, that was no longer the case. Because if they were able to make something in 5 minutes with one person that outsold something that takes an entire department to make in 7 years, well,
I don't want to live. Let's just say Bobby Kotick took notice of the Celestial Steed, that's for sure.
On this planet anymore.
Regardless, Cataclysm sold a record-breaking 3.3 million copies in a single day and regained 10 of the 12 million subscribers that Arthas gave Blizzard. So technically, World of Warcraft was safe.
I'm gonna go home and put the heck out of this thing.
But when we look closer, we can see players weren't as satisfied.
This guy right here. Hold on, where is he? This guy right here.
Out of this thing.
Blood Elf female mage. Got the sexiest freaking transmog you ever seen in your life. So be careful out there. This is what your typical Blood Elf blonde female mage looks like.
To this realm.
Uncle Lucky knows what I'm talking about. Thank you for the sub, Uncle.
But when we look closer, we can see players weren't as satisfied as they once were. Sure, Azeroth was completely revamped, but no one really experienced it necessarily. Players just sort of logged in and... oh, I guess I spawn here now. Also, the whole murder dragon that destroys the entire planet narrative, it just kind of fizzles out like a Disney movie, which, like, it isn't even a bit. It straight up has the same castle and firework ending.
You are Azeroth's true guardians.
Yeah.
And the future of this world is in your hands.
Oh my god, look at the fucking dragon aspects. Holy crap, 2-bit eyes. Yep, that's when they lost their powers forever, right? Now it's the mortals' turn to take over. Just kidding, here comes Dragonflight. You guys fucked it all up. We gotta get our powers back.
Who greenlit that? But let's be real, okay? After amazing expansions like Burning Crusade or the Wrath of the Lich King,
feels great.
players were fine tolerating a so-so expansion.
I've been waiting long enough. 10.5-hour shift to work, 6-hour wait for the game. It's a good day.
Because they knew.
What a fucking, this is peak life, man. I'm so happy just seeing this guy say that. What a champ, man.
6-hour wait for.
Fucking worked his ass off, working that long ass shift. He was excited all day about this. Finally getting the game and going home to play it. What a champ, man. This is what peak happiness looks like. Take it all in, guys. I wish I knew this guy's name just so I could message him and be like, you are the inspiration of happiness.
For the game, it's a good day.
Because they knew Blizzard was cooking the next big expansion with awesome characters who used crazy magic, wielded the sickest swords,
what the fuck,
or whatever
Achilles?
the heck Green Jesus is apparently capable of. You see,
wait a minute, are you guys serious? Are you guys serious? Holy shit. I was just so happy, and now I'm so depressed. What? I hope you guys are
after
lying.
Taking down Benedict Cumberbatch, the world was hyped for whatever insane, muscle-bound, fire-breathing Warcraft setting Blizzard was cooking next.
What's next? Oh, come on. Why the kazoo music? It was a good expansion. Guys, Mists of Pandaria was a good expansion. Me and my buds went to Best Buy, like I said, bought this thing late at night, installed it, sat in my parents' office, farted and played it nonstop. I still remember. We sat in the office. My parents' office, mind you, my dad had like a little office in the house, right? That's where our PCs were. We had one PC on one side, one on the other, because my brother had become complete degenerates, playing this game all the time. And then my friends brought their laptops over. I remember the office has glass doors. We're fucking losers, man. We got the game. We taped the Mists of Pandaria posters on the glass windows so anyone walking by in the house could see them. And we played nonstop. We ordered food. We played, I would say, until 6 in the morning, playing Mists of Pandaria, questing through the zones and everything, having a good old time. The room, see, here's the thing. The room is it's not very big. Probably, I would say, maybe 20 by 20. Is that a big room? I don't know. 20 by 20? 20 feet? No, what am I saying, 20 by 20? It's probably more like a 16 by 16 room. Okay? 16 by 16 room. The PCs were radiating a lot of heat, right? You got about 4 computers in that room. Radiating heat, 4 or 5 PCs radiating heat in the room. We're eating food in the room because, you know, we're not going to leave our PCs to eat. We're also farting in the room. We're talking about, I'm 22 years old, as are my buds. My brother is 21. You could imagine, my dad opened the door. He came in to check on us. He opens the door, and I still remember him saying, "Oh my God, something died in this room." It smelled like pure shit. But you know what that pure shit was? Pure joy. That's what it was. It was the smell of happiness. We were just enjoying it. Sitting in it, not even realizing that it was around us. But we were just having so much fun. We had no idea what was going on in terms of the stench or the temperature. I knew it was hot in the room. All that radiating PC heat, it was very hot in the room. I was sweating. But damn it, nothing was going to take me away from my keyboard. And we had such a good time. I have very good memories of Mists of Pandaria. It got a bad rap because of the fucking pandas. And it turns out the pandas weren't even a big deal. But I think people who gave the expansion a chance actually enjoyed MOP.
Is this actually the game?
It was a good one. I even liked the art style, the Chinese inspired art style. I liked it. I thought it was very cool. The music was good. I liked MOP. Always shitting on it.
Okay, so apparently pandas are in. Now, while this is 1000% a curveball, Mists of Pandaria came packed with a surprising amount of goodies. First off, Master Shifu is beyond thrilled. Next, the game adds the Pandarin as a faction-fluid playable race capable of using the new Monk class, which is a first for the series. They center the game's theme around Chinese culture and architecture that, quite frankly, looks incredible.
It looked beautiful.
And lastly,
I love the artistic style of MOP. I will say, one thing I didn't like about MOP was the fact that the Pandaren were cross-faction. They were like one faction or the other. To me, back then, you got to remember, faction lines were hardcore back then. Hard as could be. Thick, hard, and ready in a line. Okay? And then all of a sudden, you got this race that can be on either side. I didn't like that shit. I thought it was lazy. I thought we should have gotten 2 races. And nowadays, that sounds ridiculous because now there are no faction lines. That's the most limp dick thing you can talk about is a faction line, faction divide, and at all. But back then, it was a big deal, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
they add a Pokemon pet
I am a
battle
Human Alliance
system.
big character, of course.
So here's a look at what it would look like. This is just a mock-up.
Oh, pet battles.
Okay, I won't lie, the new direction is a little surprising, but it looks like it technically still works. I mean, the expansion sells 2.7 million copies in just a week and returns the sub count right back to 10 million. So yeah, Mists of Pandaria is technically a success. But if you're like me, you might be wondering why the heck Blizzard would go from something like this to this.
The pet battle system takes all pets and merges them into a Pokemon-like system of turn-based combat, collection, and leveling.
Well, I mean, I'd say what you want about it. People like pet battles, okay? It's fine. It's fine. I've never participated in pet battles, but I understand why it got added to the game. People like it, okay? Jeez. The face.
Well, it turns out North America wasn't the only one who loved World of Warcraft. Because when you look at the subscription data, you can see China accounted for a huge piece of that pie. With that in mind, the idea to embrace Chinese culture starts making a ton of sense. And in fairness, pandas were technically a thing in Warcraft 3.
They were.
Bring pandemonium!
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
That's right. Some people think Blizzard copied Kung Fu Panda. No, it's the opposite. Blizzard had Kung Fu Pandas before Kung Fu Panda was ever a thing. Mark it.
Kind of awesome.
However, respect on their name.
Even though this expansion had a lot of interesting features, it also marked the beginning of a bigger shift in Blizzard's design. The game was now more accessible, more vibrant, and more colorful.
They looked at it and said, this isn't the Warcraft I know. The Warcraft I know is about orcs and humans and dragons, and this feels like a different game. This feels almost childish.
It supported more gimmicky features like the pet battle system, meant to bring in a newer, younger audience.
I feel like they just kind of gave it a theme to attract more players that are new to the game, but it's not so much for experienced players that are already in it.
And that monetization train? Well, it didn't seem...
I mean, yeah, the China market was huge at the time, and I'm sure that Mists of Pandaria was a play on the China market. The skin, okay, the overlay, the skin of the expansion, people weren't feeling it. But honestly, at its core, I enjoyed MoP. I enjoyed the questing. I enjoyed the storylines. I enjoyed the Mogu stories. They were cool. I loved the content itself. It was a lot of fun, and I thought the raids were good. Everything was good about MoP. Yeah, it had its issues, of course, but overall it was a good expansion. I think just the overlay, that it felt so different from your typical orc-human clashes, it really turned a lot of people off.
More players that are new to the game, but it's not so much for experienced players that are already in it.
And that monetization train? Well, it didn't seem to be slowing down any time soon. Make no mistake, Mists of Pandaria seems to be a solid expansion by all accounts, but its direction seemed to be drifting World of Warcraft further away from what appealed to the core fans.
Like I don't know a single person that's saying, oh, pandas, I'm gonna play this game for the pandas.
A mistake Hollywood forced Blizzard to fix in the next expansion.
Yeah, well, they did go hardcore in Warlords, that's
We
for
are
sure.
halfway through World of Warcraft's expansion, and it looks like this one's going to be a big return to what made Warcraft Warcraft.
This got people excited, man. WoD got people excited, and for good reason. Honestly, the story, the intro, everything about it early on was great. I wasn't a big fan of like alternate timeline, weird shit going on, but it was what it was. Overall, WoD came off like a fucking rocket. It was great in the beginning. The problem with WoD is it just stopped. The content ran out, and a big thing was the fucking, what's it called? The armory, whatever that shit was, the player camp, that really isolated people. It did. And that was a big problem, too, because when you got an MMO that isolates players, well, then you don't have an MMO anymore. You just got fucking, it's like a Facebook game or something. Yeah, so that shit was bad. Overall, WoD, yeah, a bit of a downturn, but it did have some shining bright stars in it. One of them was the early on story campaign. It was really good.
This one's going to be a big return to what made...
I forgot what garrisons were called because I've erased it from my... It was a bad time. But garrisons, I mean, they're still trying to get money out of the game that got pumped in through garrisons.
Warcraft. I mean, look at this trailer.
We will never be slaves.
That's a good one. Goosebumps.
It's packed with so much testosterone.
I'll be honest. After Wrath of the Lich King, I actually think the WoD trailer is like the second best trailer. I think it's the second best trailer. It was so badass. It was so testosterone pumped. Big orcs doing big things. The big line at the end, "We'll never be slaves." It was a badass cinematic.
That even Joe Rogan wants in on it.
Oh, yeah, down ballistic.
Now, this change clearly worked because Warlords of Draenor sells a record-breaking 3.3 million copies in a single day and brings those juicy subscriptions right back up to...
Yeah, when you say WoD was one of the worst expansions, I agree because it stopped, man. We had like a year of nothing from WoD. If you remember, that content just died. There was no content in WoD. WoD was unplayable. At one point, there was just nothing to do for so long that you really couldn't even play the game. You just had to go do something else, which was probably, to be honest, that was probably the first time that ever happened. That was probably the first time we could ever say that about World of Warcraft. I joined WoD. I joined during... Oh my god, we got a WoD baby. Thank you, Burning Viking, for the bits. I appreciate that.
10.5 million
You're
players.
one of these 10.5 million.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
So Blizzard's got to be feeling pretty good, right? Well, not exactly. You see, World of Warcraft started getting so huge that around this time, Hollywood's working on an official movie, and to capitalize on all of that player hype, they decide to set that movie in a date and time 90% of players were completely unaware of.
Yeah, mistake.
So to help fans unaware of the movie's incredibly strange timeline choice, Blizzard sets this expansion in an alternate timeline 35 years.
That was the part I didn't like about the story, I'll be honest, the alternate timeline stuff. And the movie, yeah, their mistake was they thought, oh, we're going to have a trilogy. Before they had a singleogy. I don't know what you would call it, a oneogy. So they wanted to start at the very beginning. Even George Lucas himself knew that was a bad fucking idea. George Lucas, when he launched Star Wars, he knew the early story might not connect with people the way the end story will. So let me start with Darth Vader and all this shit, you know, launch it, and then I'll go back and tell the story the way it was supposed to be told. That was how they should have done it with World of Warcraft. They should have just came out with Arthas' story first, and then gone back and told the story of orcs and humans.
In the past. That's right. Somehow, World of Warcraft, the fantasy game, now has time travel. Okay?
What's wrong with you?
So, quick recap. At this point in World of Warcraft's story, you've stopped Illidan, Arthas, Smaug, and you've imprisoned some new orc war chief, Garrosh Hellscream, for being kind of evil. Well, in this expansion, Garrosh magically escapes and somehow travels back in time to stop his dad, Grommash Hellscream.
Can I say one thing about Garrosh? Only character, or the first character, I should say, that was created, born in-game. Garrosh, the first time we met him was in Nagran during Burning Crusade. He was the first character that ever came out in World of Warcraft that was like literally born and bred in the World of Warcraft. He was not part of the Warcraft universe prior to this stuff. And he was actually a great character. I thought Garrosh was a great character. He called Sylvanas a bitch, one of the coolest moments I've ever seen in the game. His motivations were clear. His character was pretty clear. He was a solidly written character for the most part. He had his issues here and there, but overall, the killing of Garrosh was kind of a bitch move on Thrall's part, and I sided with Garrosh on some things for sure. Garrosh did nothing wrong. At the end of the day, he was just trying to create a stronger horde. He did some bitch moves. The way he treated the Tauren, he was a bitch for that. But overall, Garrosh, badass character.
Escapes and somehow travels back in time to stop his dad, Grommash Hellscream, heck of a name by the way, from drinking this demon blood and also turning evil. And together, as definitely not evil people, the two team up to build the Iron Horde in order to take over Azeroth. Now, do you have any idea how much World of Warcraft lore I had to read to find out why a giant bald orange orc man was capable of using time travel in a world that looked like Middle-earth? Because the answer was too much. And what's worse is, it doesn't even seem to matter.
It's Jesus, the old Asmongold. It's not really time travel. It's alternate timeline. And the timeline was behind our timeline. That's kind of what he did. And other universes going through a portal, I mean, that's where the orcs originally came from, right? So, I mean, that kind of shit isn't weird. The weird part was the alternate universe part of it. That was kind of weird because some of these characters, you know, Gul'dan for one, who was dead in our timeline. All of a sudden he's back. So yeah, there's some weirdness with that, and that was my least favorite part of the story, but I got over it, and I kind of enjoyed the testosterone orcs.
Mad. Because everything about this expansion seems to just implode on itself with barely any content, causing subscription numbers to fall off a freaking cliff. So in fear of losing more subscribers, Blizzard just decides to give up halfway through and focus on the next expansion.
Yeah, basically.
Which, like, okay.
That was why we got no content. They admitted themselves. They dropped WoD. They were like, fuck it. WoD kind of messed up. We're going to try to make the next expansion a great expansion.
Sure, but now, like me, you're probably wondering what the heck this expansion even did. Well, it updates the character models to look less nightmare-y and brings the magic of the Sims games to World of Warcraft through a new base building feature that they call Garrisons.
This was the
Garrison
problem.
was a persistent space of your own in the world that you could customize as you saw fit.
Because as you can probably tell, people who like this...
I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating of course, percentage of survival.
And people who like this... would clearly be the same person.
Oh, God.
Also, for roughly the same price as the expansion itself, players can now pay to boost any character to level 90 or buy in-game gold, which is the game's currency, with real money using a new currency called...
WAD, I mean, you know, we got the Celestial Steed and things like that before, but WAD was like the real, like, okay, we're going to monetize the shit out of this game beyond the sub. And, you know, with the player boosts and all that other shit, yeah, that's where it started, you know, and the WoW token, things like that, yeah, it happened. It happened.
The WoW token.
It's a way for players to exchange
Wait a
with each
minute,
other.
what the shit? When was this? When the fuck was the WoW token 15k? Did you guys see that? Hold on.
Currency called the WoW token.
15k? When the... This must be like on PTR testing or something. When the hell was the WoW token only 15k? This thing hit like freaking 400k when the Long Boy came out, which I'm doing a giveaway for, by the way. You guys want that Long Boy, get in here, keep watching. Let's continue until December. Yeah, but 15k. What the fuck? When?
It's a way for players to...
It was 5k, am I wrong? Wow, the WoW token really was low as shit back then. Yeah, get your Long Boy. Okay. Should have bought a WoW token
exchange
back
with
then.
each other time for in-game currency.
I fundamentally love when games add multiple levels of currency to their game. It's always a great sign. Always. Because why play years of critically acclaimed content when you can just buy your way through with zero context of what's actually happening?
True.
Now, how do players take?
And one big problem with the WoW token, you know, like the WoW token is what it is, but one of the biggest problems with it, and it hasn't been addressed until Dragonflight, since post-Dragonflight they tried to address it, is what it does is it incentivizes Blizzard to create a shitty early player experience, right? Why fix the early game experience? You're going to put time and money into fixing the early game experience, which gains you nothing back in terms of money. Or you can just leave it shitty the way it is and have people buy a token to skip it, right? To buy a boost to skip it. You're literally incentivized via money to make the early game shitty enough that people will pay money to skip it to go to the good stuff, which is the end game. That's a problem. That's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like a snake eating its own tail, feeds on itself. Now, since Dragonflight, they revamped the early start. You know, I think it's much better now for a new player to come in and actually level through the game. It's a way better experience now than it was prior. But for the longest time, it was just a bad thing, and I felt like the WoW token was contributing to that.
This.
Not the WoW, the boost was contributing to that, sorry.
Not well. In fact, the only positive thing I could find about Warlords of Draenor seems to be the Joe Rogan trailer. Like I said before, after players saw how little content the expansion really had, subscriptions fell so far that Blizzard just stopped reporting them altogether.
That's when it
to
stopped.
this day, no one knows the official subscription numbers because of how bad this expansion bombed.
True.
This expansion was terrible. Almost all of the tier list videos have "this is the worst."
Then something new happened.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Fire! Oh, fire! Oh my
What is it, Illidan
Some
and the
of the
Crystal?
subscriptions, they just kept falling. And falling.
Yeah.
And falling.
This is when the dead game chants really got loud. This was it. WoD. End of WoD. People thought this was it. This was the end of World of Warcraft, boys. The end of the game as we know it. Time for a new MMO to take the scene. Too bad one purpley, Illidan-y, demon-y night elf had something else to say about that.
Yes, just try better expansion. I'm not sure. Shut up. This is emergency.
That's right. Oh, fucking great. Legion. This was a good one. This was a
Okay,
good
so
one.
in an act of what looks very much like desperation, Blizzard goes back to the drawing board and basically tries to recreate all of these expansions while simultaneously trying to forget these. Which causes them to bring Illidan back using the magic of
So
plot and drop one of the sickest trailers they've had in a long
Yeah,
time.
okay, I'll be honest though, Legion's trailer.
We have a
Ruger.
realm to destroy.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. I'll be honest, Legion's trailer, I did say WoD was probably second best. Probably tied with Legion. Varian Wrynn, my favorite character in the game, badass. Reason why I play a human, I live to serve him. He died, right, later on. Spoiler alert. What a badass trailer this was. This literally felt like, okay, the war is on. War is back in Warcraft. This is the end game. This is it. The Burning Legion. We dealt with them in Burning Crusade, but we didn't really get rid of them. Now it's time. We're facing down one of the biggest foes that we've ever known, and one that's been ominously looming there for a while now. What a great expansion. Also giving us Legion legendaries, putting some of the most epic weapons in the game in our hands. Oh, shit.
I mean,
W.
everything about that trailer is just mwah. So it has to be good, right? Well, the answer is yes, because Blizzard pulls out all the frickin' stops. They bring back Burning Crusade's Illidan. They add a new Demon Hunter class like they did in Lich. They add new artifact weapons to let players craft iconic Warcraft weapons
Such
for
a good
themselves.
system this was.
They add the giant and beautiful city of Suramar to explore. And because the Burning Legion is back, they add super cool invasions that happen sporadically in the world that anyone can take part of.
So during Legion, I was in law school. And I used to play in class at times, right? Especially if that shit got... I was in family law. Who gives a shit about divorce? I got to fucking learn about this. I'm going to go ahead and log in and do a new thing called a Mythic Plus. That's right. Mythic Plus got introduced in Legion. And man, it was so perfect for me because in law school, I couldn't raid anymore. That was like outside of my time, time that I had. I just gotten married. I'm in law school now. I'm doing like adult things. Degenerate Sam has to be shelved for a little bit. But the little degenerate child inside of me, he could come out every once in a while and do what? Run a quick Mythic Plus. That's right. That's what I used to do between classes, in class, sometimes here and there. Yeah, it was good. And it allowed me to keep up with the content in the game. I loved Mythic Plus in Legion.
That was such uber ponage.
I mean, this was one of the first expansions I ever had, and like I remember going in, you'd see the invasions, and everything was just sick, and you felt like you were part of something, and it was like it felt awesome. Legion is sick. So it's not a shock whatsoever to see that Legion sells 3.3 million copies in a single day, proving that World of Warcraft was not only back, but it was safe once again. Finally, Blizzard devs could see their families again.
They did it! Our world is safe!
Except, despite how much Legion did right, and believe me, it did a lot of things right, World of Warcraft was turning 12 years old, and with all that age came a lot of bloat. Overly complicated systems dedicated to the most hardcore players, an influx of microtransactions in 20 different currencies, and social features being somehow eradicated in favor of more accessibility.
In an effort to achieve more accessibility, we kind of removed some of the reasons why you needed to play with the same group of people over and over.
You see the direct...
that's kind of sad, I'm not going to lie. But here's the thing, like, in all honesty, society changed. Like, queuing up through a trade chat window, like just looking for people via trade chat and forming up a group, like that stuff was not going to be viable in today's world. People need more instant gratification than that. Society changes, times change, as Garrosh once said. And that was inevitable. Like, it was gonna happen. So adding the queue system and Wrath of the Lich King.
Waste to this realm.
Sasoric, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Adding the queue system, and people complained about that. It was eventually gonna happen. It was a necessary evil because things were changing, times were changing, and the game changing along with times. That was gonna happen too. Nostalgia always gives you rose-colored glasses. It's always gonna look like 2020 when you look black. And yes, some of the things did create a less, connected game. You felt more soloistic in an MMO, which is always a bad thing. But I feel like some of that's coming back. We're getting some good interactions with people once again. I feel like they're trying to introduce more things to do with more people. So far, we're backtracking a little bit, back to a more social game. But all in all, it's your option now. You can play it solo or you can play it with people.
Blizzard
Whereas Garrisons really incentivize people to just play with people. Jesus, Josh, you can enter all at once, by the way. You can type ! enter space, however many points you want to enter. You don't got to enter one at a time. What the shit?
With Cataclysm and through other expansions, I'd finally...
1 point per hour of viewing, guys. You get 1 point per hour of viewing. So if you want to see how many points you have, type ! Points in the chat. It's like a Josh just spamming entries.
Caught up with them. Their audience was no longer the same audience that they started with.
Yeah, I got the laptop in the car so I can load it on the way, in all honesty.
Because at this point, it looked
Look
like
at this man. Look at this man, right? Look at him. Look at him. You think he's got it all? He's got the where is it? Oh man, hold on. Where'd he go?
At this point, it looked like they had completely split into different...
I want to see it. I want to see this guy sitting with the chick on his lap. I got to find it. Let me see if I can click back fast enough to get there. Come on, use those clicks, Sam. Use those clicks. I think it's the scene right before this one, right? Come on. Come on. Clicking. There it is. You think this man has everything a man could want, right? Look at this chick sitting on his lap. She's pretty good looking. He's got the spiked hair. Clearly, this is like early 2000s time, NSYNC days, shell necklace, maybe something like that. But what is he thinking about? Not the hot piece of ass sitting on his lap. He's thinking about that laptop. Look at that. Look at that smile. That's the smile of a man who's enjoying a game. He's ready to log in. He's ready to pull out and log in. That was the fantasy back then. Fuck it. Pull out and log in.
Way, in all honesty.
Because at this point,
That's
it
right.
looked like
He's
they
ready.
had completely split into different directions. And some of those people started asking questions.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
Oh, vanilla.
And by the way, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
Oh, man. Famous last words.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, straight up telling your most dedicated customers at an event that they paid to be at that they were the ones that were actually wrong?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
But no, it didn't fucking pay off for him. That was the end of his career, basically. It was a downward trajectory from there. And this is one thing that the reason why the game has come back slightly, at least I feel like I've been enjoying the game more since Dragonflight, and now I've been enjoying it a lot in the War Within. I feel like it's in a much better place is because that attitude where, you know, we know more than you, the player, fuck off, that attitude's gone. Blizzard got humbled, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to them. Final Fantasy was part of that process of humbling them because they realized, oh, players got options now. Saw what expansion you started to lose hair. Yeah, I probably did start to lose hair in this expansion. That's true. BFA was probably, yeah, I started balding in BFA. That's true. Damn you for bringing that truth into my chat right now. But anyways, the whole thing I was saying was they've redacted that. They've gone back on that. They realize now that the best way to make a good game is to listen to the players who are playing the game. Here's the thing. Players are great at finding problems. They're not good at fixing them. That's what the devs are for. So if they work together, you let the players find the problems and voice those problems to you, and you as the devs react to those voices and actually make the game better as the players are asking you to. That's what makes a good game. And that's what Blizzard's doing now. And yes, there's issues on launch, patch might be broken, things like that, but they are so quick now to react to it. It's so much better than it used to be. And that's why I think Blizzard and World of Warcraft in general right now is in a better spot.
Blizzard's response of knowing exactly what's best for the average World of Warcraft player, they also realized that maybe they did stray a little far from the old days of Alliance versus Horde.
You are Azeroth's true guardians.
It's a bad, shitty cinematic, man.
Who greenlit that? So, with Battle for Azeroth, their idea is, and please stop me if you've heard this before, to go back to what made Warcraft. I mean, look, even the cover art is a reference to the original Warcraft games. But I'm not gonna lie, there's something I just don't understand in this situation. See, after 14 years of expansions, the Alliance and Horde have overcome the world ending like 7 times. They killed a Lich together, a Demon Hunter, a Lord of the Rings character. They figured out time travel. Oh yeah, and a god the size of a planet stabs the world with his sword. Which, yeah, by the way, that happened.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for the whole bringing back the Alliance versus Horde hating each other thing would be, why? Why? Why?
Our responsibility is to bring joy and fun to people around the world.
Now, normally I disagree with Bobby, but when combining the pitch of this expansion...
Look, people wanted Horde and Alliance again. They did. People wanted the faction divide again. People wanted faction war. Now, what did we get? In fact, well, we got an Old God expansion, let's be honest. BFA was not a faction war expansion. It was, in fact, an Old God expansion. And I didn't hate that at the end. I actually thought the corruption armor at the end of the expansion, that fucking basically broke the game in many... We had like 40-man warrior raids, tank raids and shit. It was a lot of fun. Sorry, 30-man raids. We don't have 40 anymore, sadly. That stuff was fun. I enjoyed the end of BFA. I thought it was a fun expansion. It had its issues. Azerite armor.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
The meth use la gamer. Thank you for the follow and welcome to our scourge. Keep using that meth. That is World of Warcraft, of course. We don't do drugs here. But basically, BFA had a hiccup at the beginning. Azerite armor, complete shit show. And what happened was all the devs had to go all hands on deck and all hands on dick to fix it. It was a big problem, which led to a lot of content being taken out of the game that was supposed to be put in. So BFA had its stumblings early on, and eventually I feel like they got it together and it finished stronger than it started. That was how I remember BFA in total. Now, Faction War, it's what players wanted, and they went for it, and it sold the expansion pretty well early on. That's
the
why they
hype
did it.
that Legion built. Battle for Azeroth sells a record-breaking 3.4 million copies in its first day. So clearly people wanted this because
Yeah, they
Battle
wanted
for
Faction War.
Azeroth not only becomes the fastest-selling World of Warcraft expansion ever made, but it
Wow.
also becomes the
I didn't know that.
fastest-selling PC game ever.
Holy.
Except nothing about this expansion made any sense, because aside from the initial pitch, everything was lame.
And if we look back to what worked before, then technically Battle for Azeroth shouldn't even be working. The leader of the Alliance went from the sickest looking dude I've ever seen in my life to
Badass.
someone I can only guess does not like the touch of sand.
It's coarse and rough and irritating.
Can I say something though? Anduin, I feel like his story is getting a little bit better. Okay, I eventually know Anduin will become Manduin. I think he's going to get his cool redemption arc with his father. He's been through a lot, right? His parents are both dead at an early age. He's been through multiple wars. He's had to lead an entire fucking faction of multiple races through multiple issues and multiple endgame scenarios. You gotta give the guy a break, all right? He's been through a lot.
And it gets everywhere.
The leader of the Horde is now a frickin' banshee that commits genocide because the equivalent of a rude comment. And when she's finally confronted by an army, she just kills the main guy while everyone else watches and then somehow pulls a Team Rocket by blasting off again.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing about this expansion makes any sense.
The story feels forced, the community's more split than ever, the leads are basically Looney Tune characters,
And the game was the most bloated it had ever been.
It was
there
bloated.
had to be more to the story. And it turns out, there was. You see, World of Warcraft subscription numbers get leaked for the first time since Draenor.
And let me tell you, it's not good.
You see, Battle for Azeroth may have brought in sales with a great
better
pitch,
now.
but it also dropped World of Warcraft subscription numbers to the lowest point in the game's history. The players had spoken.
This was the turning point. This was a big deal. Final Fantasy was actually taking off at the same time, and that competition was a great thing for the game, I feel like. It was a very good thing. Finally, competition breeds excellence, and WoW had no competition for a long time. Finally, there was a game that came along that players were willing to switch to. Do I think it's as good as WoW? No. But did a lot of players feel like it was they were better off playing that than what the current version of WoW was? Yeah, they did. And it forced the devs and everybody to look each other in the face and decide, hey, we got to listen to these people or else they're going to leave. Because they didn't listen about Azerite armor. That was brought up to them in the PTR. People kept telling them, Azerite armor, this shit ain't good. Fix it. And they said, we know better than you. Turns out they didn't. And this all was a very humbling experience for them, and I feel like it led to what was kind of a comeback for the game later on.
They weren't happy. And if Blizzard wanted to keep the game alive,
they'd have to do something drastic.
Cookies and cream is actually my
This is a pretty epic
all-time
announcement.
favorite dessert. But I understand that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla.
There it is. This was hype.
Wow. I mean, to go from the guy who said that everybody else was wrong and that they knew the answer the entire
man's been
time,
humbled.
only to be that same guy on stage giving them exactly what they wanted,
You don't want to do that.
that might be one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.
but I'm going to go out on a limb and
Yeah,
guess
man has a legacy that he might not be proud of. Let's just say that. And the vanilla hype, it was real. I'm not a vanilla Andy. I'm not a classic Andy. I don't play it. I played it on launch, when they relaunched vanilla and as classic, and it was just hype for that in a couple days. But then I went back to retail because that's what I play. It's what I enjoy playing. But I don't hate anyone for loving classic. It's a great game. You can't hate it.
bets that players were a-okay with that.
Feels great.
Now, for those of you who don't know, in 2019, Blizzard brings grown men to tears by doing the unthinkable and completely
Fairly enough,
reviving
yeah.
the original World of Warcraft exactly as it was in 2004, which is insane.
Oh, I started tearing up. I really did, and I barely heard about the new expansion.
Because the only other company I can think of that's done anything like this is the Halo guys, and we saw exactly how that turned out, didn't we?
yeah.
It still hurts to this day. But this was a way bigger deal than most people thought, because for the very first time in World of Warcraft history, players could actually compare what Classic did versus what Retail did without any of the magic of nostalgia. It wasn't some theoretical member berry anyone could shrug off anymore.
True.
Because the differences were clear. You see, when it came to Classic...
And the thing is, too, I feel like Classic relaunching did help the devs a lot with Retail, because players were able to kind of remember, not just through nostalgia glasses as he described it, but remember why they loved Classic. And they voiced those opinions to Blizzard, and I feel like Blizzard's tried to re-implement some of that stuff into the current game, to try to bring some of the things people loved about Classic back into Retail.
World of Warcraft didn't feel like a game to players. It surprisingly seemed to come off more like an early social network with plenty of earnable accolades to show off your hard work.
What got you the role in Twisters? Yeah, I see why you got the role.
Whereas Retail was kind of the complete opposite. It was a mess of microtransactions, confusing plot lines meant to pump subscriber numbers up, and 20 different underlying gameplay systems tailored to multiple highly specific groups of people.
Right.
It's just simply...
Look, and since then, they redid specs, they redid professions, they redone a lot of systems, and I feel like it was based on the Classic feedback. That's why they got to redo a lot of this stuff, and why it feels better now than it did just a couple expansions ago.
Not something I'm not interested in anymore.
Seriously, Retail had to maintain the pet battle fans, the garrison fans, the artifact fans, the PvP fans, the PvE fans, the mount fans, the flying mount fans, and raid fanatics who were obsessed with playing the game with hundreds of screen cluttering add-ons. Like, honestly, I'm just amazed that the Blizzard devs are still alive, quite frankly. Except, here's the real kicker. It really wouldn't matter which version anyone liked more, because Blizzard decides to support them all. If the developers barely saw their families before, it was about to get a lot worse. In 2020, Shadowlands brings the Lich King back, only to be killed instantly so his helmet can open a giant portal to the afterlife. In 2021, everyone calls in sick again to experience the Dark Portal one more time. In 2022, Arthas returns despite what Shadowlands just told us, and Dragonflight creates an entirely new audience. In 2023, Blizzard confuses everyone once more by making yet another version of Classic. And in 2024, they join the Battle Royale craze 7 years too late, bring back Benedict Cumberwing, and all...
Hey. Too late, but Plunderstorm was great, man. I'm glad they're bringing Plunderstorm back. Plunderstorm is a hook and reel for the game. I feel like if they make Plunderstorm free to play, and they give people items in the real game for that free to play version, people who play Plunderstorm will want to sub to play with the items they earned. They'll be like, "Hey, this Plunderstorm is pretty fun. Let me see what this World of Warcraft's all about." And then bam, you turn them into the same degenerates that you turned everybody else to back into 2004. It could happen. I think Plunderstorm's great. Yeah, they were late to the party, but it's a battle royale and they're an MMO. How would they, they're the first MMO to ever try something like that.
Also drop the War Within expansion as the first of an upcoming 6-year trilogy that acknowledges the giant sword-shaped elephant in the room. You see, the game just keeps going. And going.
Never dies.
But the real question we all want to know is... why?
I don't know.
The most obvious answer has...
To be honest, the question why, it's a strong one, because sometimes I feel like I'm playing just because I've always played. I mean, I'm playing this game since 2004. I was 14 when I started playing World of Warcraft. So 2005. I was 15. I'm 34 years old now. How the fuck do I stop doing something I've been doing for that long? It's kind of hard. It makes you sad to think about it. And then at the same time, I have tried other games, and I go back and I'm like, but it doesn't give me the same feeling as WoW, so I go back to WoW. I have all the memories in WoW. I have all the things I've done in WoW. I literally turned this 38-minute video into like an hour-long react because I've told you guys so many stories that I have from this game. I don't have those stories with any other game. I don't have those stories with any other thing, to be completely honest with you. So to leave the game, it's a tough one. You look 45. Shit, Neon. Thank you. To leave the game, it's almost unfathomable to me. Now, could it happen if the game got so bad that I just stopped having fun? Yeah, of course. But it would have to get pretty bad. Like, there's a lot of built-up credit with me in this game, I guess you could say. And have they chipped away at it at times? Yeah. But have they also made deposits into that credit at times? Yes, they have. So I continue to play. And I feel like a lot of players are in that same spot. And that's why it's still alive.
The most obvious answer has always and will always come down to money, which when we do the math is kind of hard to argue. Assuming you've played from the day that the game released, bought every expansion, and never missed a month of subscriptions, you would have spent around $3,667.60, or when you account for the 20 years of compounding inflation,
plus a Celestial Steed.
$4,968.38.
My parents spent about half. I didn't switch over. I didn't start paying for my own WoW sub until I was like in law school. So, I mean, probably more than half of that my parents paid for, if I'm being honest.
You what? Except money isn't the cause, it's the result. Because the real answer is much simpler than that. Looking back, World of Warcraft is at its best when it focuses on core MMO gameplay with a grounded Warcraft story players can experience together. And it's clearly at its worst when it focuses on everything outside of that, like gimmicky systems, monetization, or endings that bring a smile to Disney. Yet at the heart of every good and less good expansion has always been the exact same thing.
Can always use another Death Knight.
Trey, thank you for that Prime sub, Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you.
Team Unstoppable next. As always, you're beautiful, you're goose-tastic, and keep it cute.
Now we can finally play the game.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Kenny, add Eyes of the Beast to your hotbar.
So good, man. So good and so true. What a great video. I'll link this video in the chat for you guys if you guys haven't watched it. You know, let it play, give it a like. All those things. Yeah, WoW is WoW. WoW is life. A lot of memories in this game. I'll always love this game, whether or not the game lives on forever or not. It's still alive today. Whether or not it's alive for another 20 years after this or not, I will always love this game. I'll always have the most memories ever built in this game. I'll always have a fond attachment to this game and all the people who play this game. That's you guys in chat and everybody else who I've met while playing WoW. It's always been fun, and hopefully will continue to be fun. I'm excited for the Warcraft Direct event this afternoon. We'll see what that's like. But WoW is great. WoW is life. WoW is WoW.